this status Adelaide has as a UNESCO City of Music is unique in Australia. There aren't that many UNESCO cities of music around the world. And it's indeed a reflection of the very, very strong reputation that we have, built of a heritage of decades and indeed more than 100 years, but certainly the 50 years that the Festival Centre's been there, and indeed the classical music, the traditional forms of music, the jazz and the blues, the modern music and the rock music. Adelaide and South Australia have so much to be proud of in this space. But I particularly want to take a moment to reflect on the importance for our classical music scene in South Australia of the performers, companies such as the Adelaide Symphony Orchestra, but potentially even more importantly for younger performers, of what we can do to better support them going forward. One of the challenges they're facing is wrought on them not by this government but by the ABC, sir. When you may be aware, ABC Classic has unfortunately taken the step when their music producer, their Adelaide-based music producer, stepped down at the end of last year not to reappoint somebody, and now they have confirmed that the role is no longer going to be continued. This cut is being applied to Adelaide only and not to other states and jurisdictions. Tasmania, as I understand it, Victoria, New South Wales, Queensland will continue to have a producer in this space, continuing to record work of classical music, continuing to look for opportunities to provide concerts for classical music to be broadcast nationally. And indeed give those young performers the opportunity to thrive. ABC has confirmed that they will from time to time bring in casuals to record performances of the Adelaide Symphony Orchestra, to broadcast them live. But as I understand it, from a period in about 2018-2019, pre-COVID, when ABC Classic was broadcasting up to 40, maybe even more performances per year of Adelaide-based concerts, both the Adelaide Symphony Orchestra but also emerging artists, those opportunities have now dwindled to single digits. And that is something which I've taken the opportunity on reflecting on estimates in the last week to write to ABC management, and I encourage the government and the Arts Minister to follow that and also apply whatever pressure they can to the ABC to reinstate this position. I wrote to the Managing Director, National and also the State Manager on the 23rd of August as Shadow Minister for Arts in relation to the removal of the position. I wrote to them as it was brought to my attention recently, and as has been reported, I understand the full-time role was left vacant in December last year, never filled, and has now been abolished, with only occasional casual work being offered to fill the gap. The impact on South Australia's classical music scene has been one that I was asked about over the last week or two, in discussions with a number of artists and arts administrators. While several were reluctant to speak out publicly for fear of offence dampening their future opportunities for partnerships with the ABC, it is reasonable to say that all were both disappointed with the move and concerned that it will lead directly to reduced opportunities for both artists to reach audiences and for young musicians and their families who might once have had their concerts broadcast to be introduced to the network. The reduced opportunities for artists and companies to be broadcast, whether through the serendipitous engagement of your producer with the music scene in Adelaide or through the reduction in performances that might have been curated specifically for an ABC Classic audience, along with live audiences, is most disappointing given Adelaide's proud status as a UNESCO City of Music. It's been claimed that the ABC live broadcasts from Adelaide have been reduced from more than 40 in 2019 to single digits in the last year. I've seen the statement offered by the ABC to Limelight magazine on the topic, including a commitment to, and I quote, a full schedule of recordings in Adelaide for this calendar year. I strongly encourage you in the first instance to reconsider the decision to remove this position, advertise for a suitably qualified person to undertake the role going forward. In the event you aren't happy to do that, I'd seek further clarification of the statement made to Limelight. For how long is the commitment to a full schedule of recordings? What does that full schedule look like? So this may only be one position in a national broadcaster, but it's a position that has a significant flow-on impact to the classical music scene, the ecosystem for artists who are seeking to make a living, whether as full-time performers or as part-time performers and as music teachers, or indeed even, and perhaps to my mind, maybe even the most importantly, to young performers looking for their first exposure and the first opportunity to, I think, feel the inspiration of being broadcast to a national audience. That's something that's always been part of our scene, The former staff member who did that role, I understand, did it for approaching 2 decades and had a significant role. I thank Simon Healy, the former presenter, who brought it to my attention personally in the first instance. I thank those other artists and arts administrators who I won't name but who have been happy to talk to me about the issue in recent weeks. I encourage the ABC to revisit this decision and I encourage the government to lend its support and weight too to convincing the ABC to revisit this bad decision.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr Acting Speaker. And I also rise to make a contribution to the debate on the estimates process this year as my second as Minister for Small and Family Business, Consumer and Business Affairs and the Arts. I want to thank the member for Morialta for his contribution just then and fully support Adelaide as a UNESCO City of Music and all that we can do to promote that in every way possible.